Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi is expected to travel to the United States next week to meet US President Donald Trump. Sources have told WION that the expected dates of his US travel are from the 12th to the 14th of February. Prime Minister Modi will be the fourth leader to meet US President Trump since he returned to the White House for a second term. Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu is currently in the United States, while Japan's Prime Minister Shigeru Ishiba is also expected to visit the White House this week. Jordan's King Abdullah will meet the US President on the 11th of February. Since Trump won elections in November last year, Prime Minister Modi and the US President have spoken to each other twice. The last conversation between both leaders was on the 27th of January, and during this conversation they discussed commitment to a stronger partnership between the two countries and regional security issues in the Indo-Pacific, Middle East and Europe. Prime Minister Modi and Donald Trump also spoke about bilateral trade and defense cooperation. The latter emphasized on fair trade and increased procurement of US security equipment. The Indian Prime Minister travels to the United States from France following his participation in the Artificial Intelligence Summit in France. The summit, scheduled for the 10th to the 11th of February, will discuss the future of AI, its governance and AI's role in shaping global policies. And for more on this, our assistant editor for Foreign Affairs, Siddhant Sibal, is joining us from New Delhi. Siddhant, thank you so much for joining us. To begin with, what do you think will be the key items on the agenda when the two meet?
Well, first, I can say that it is very early on that the Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi and the US President Donald Trump are meeting. In fact, within a few weeks after his inauguration, the Indian Prime Minister is traveling to White House to meet the US President Donald Trump. Now, on the agenda will be everything from people-to-people relationship to trade to defense. We know that in the Trump administration's first term, the key pacts like COMCASA and BECA were signed. When it comes to trade, we know that Donald Trump's own policy of America First is something that is well known. And during the 27th January conversation between Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi and the US President Donald Trump, he called for fair trade. That essentially means the reduction of tariffs from the Indian side. He has in his campaign trail last year before the elections in November called India the tariff king as well. And this is one of the contentious issue. When it comes to people relationship, it has two sides. First, of course, the issue of immigration, particularly illegal immigration. In fact, even as we speak, we know there are reports of first military plane leaving United States and traveling to India's Amritsar, northern city, with illegal immigrants. More details are awaited. And we know that Donald Trump has come up with new policies when it comes to dealing with illegal immigration. That, of course, particularly focuses on the southern border. The second, of course, from the Indian side is the delay in visas. And this is something that the Indian External Affairs Minister had spoken to during his conversation with the US Secretary of State, Marco Rubio.
Right, Siddhant, also just to expand on that, in what ways do you think the India-US relationship will evolve in Trump's second term in office?
Well, India is fairly confident when it comes to dealing with Donald Trump. And while the world has been dithering, we know that India has been engaging very early on with the Trump administration. The Indian External Affairs Minister, Dr. S. Jaishankar, was in United States in December and met the incoming NSA, Mr. Mike Waltz. And we know that India was invited by the Trump Advance Committee to be present at the inauguration as well. And we saw Indian External Affairs Minister as special envoy of the Indian Prime Minister present there. And the first bilateral meeting of the US Secretary of State, the new US Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, was with the Indian External Affairs Minister. So that shows that all the positive developments in the relationship, and that paves way for wider engagement between the two sides. The US President Donald Trump is also expected to travel to India later this year for the Quad Summit, which India will be hosting for the first time. So there are multiple engagements and it looks very positive, even though there are irritants like immigration issue and also, of course, the issue of trade as well. Of course, the US side is also keen that India buys more American equipment, something that came up during the conversation between the Indian Prime Minister and the US President Donald Trump on 27th of January.
All right. Well, Siddhant, thank you so much for bringing us the latest on this. We'll, of course, continue to track all developments closely on this front.